brick.
Oh, fuck, it's eating too. All right, it's Paul DeBruzzo. We're in St. Catharines. We got 1, 2, 3 Tri-Plex. We're going to show you how to turn a Tri-Plex into 9 units using the infill development strategy in Niagara region. So interesting story. When we found this place, we'd come visit the property like any other property we do. Come, park the car. We saw the units inside. It's a triplex, a legal triplex, and we came with the understanding that this place needed some work, needed some touch up, and it was going to be a typical BRRRR strategy to turn this place around and provide nice units for tenants, and obviously turn a profit for us too. But when I came out this door in the end. And I walked out here and I was like, hey, something's different here. Never mind the apple tree, but this is a deep yard, a big double garage. And more importantly, because I didn't use this driveway, I noticed we're fronting on another street here. And it wasn't exactly clear to me in the listing before I came here. So my next thought was, instead of BRRRing it, or maybe along with BRRRing it, is there an opportunity to sever this piece of land off and create something else here, or maybe turn the whole thing into a bigger development? And that's where the inspiration to kind of develop the site plan came from. So when we were working with the designer who was doing the site plan, we had 3 options essentially. One was keep the triplex and develop that rear area where the garage is into a second lot, and either sever it off and build something or do something of value with it. The second option was demolish everything and actually build 9 units here, which turned out didn't make as much economic sense because 9 units wasn't enough to create as much efficiency in a building. I mean, we still ended up with 9 units, but in a different configuration. So the third option, which we went with, was to create 4 lots, 3 lots across the front here. And if you're looking at the site plan, it would be 1, 2, 3 lots across the front that are accessed from this driveway right here. So you'd pull into this main driveway and you would access the lots from the rear, right? And the interesting part there is, even though they're townhouses, each townhouse has a secondary unit. What's unique is that the accessory units or the secondary units are not in the basement. They're actually on the second floor. So the main unit enters on the main floor. It's got the kitchen and living room like you would expect on any main floor. But to go to the bedrooms, they're going downstairs to access the bedroom and sleeping area. And the accessory dwelling unit actually goes upstairs on the second floor. And that's because across the street, there is a ravine that kind of goes down into a nice kind of park public area. And from the second floor, you're going to get a view of that. So instead of having a traditional accessory dwelling unit, we thought we'd add tremendous value, putting them on the second floor with a balcony, because the main floor units are going to have a rear yard space, a beautiful backyard, as you can see right here in the site plan, right? And the 4th lot, we had to do some fighting with the city, but it was worth it because we were able to get approvals for a triplex, even though we only had 2 parking spots. There's lots of parking along the street here, and with the federal government, provincial governments, and even municipal governments crying for more units and more affordable housing, we use that to our advantage to get a 3rd unit here that everybody wants and we think everybody needs. These infill development deals always seem sexy from the outside when you're looking at site plans and floor plans and the basement plans and all these accessory dwelling units, and everything seems like it's going to work. But without seeing the actual numbers, it's hard to judge if doing all this work is going to make sense in the end. And that's really the hardest part, is you have to work backwards from a future prediction of value and see if all this work you're going to put in and all the money you're going to put in is going to produce enough profit to make it worth it. Because we want a return on investment, we also want a return on our time. We don't want to spend 40 hours a week doing this. We have other things to do. We have jobs and careers and families and friends and hobbies. So, when we did the analysis on this, we worked backwards. We said, okay, if we're going to build a triplex, actually right here, what is the value of that triplex going to be? And we determined it would probably end up being in this neighborhood of $900,000 to $950,000, given the amount of rent it would produce and the value as compared to other brand new triplexes in the marketplace. And for each of the townhouses, we're running anywhere between 800 to 850,000, given it's 2 to 3 years ahead of time when we're finished construction. And again, compared to other brand new things of the same ilk, in the neighborhood, and based on the amount of income we could produce. So, and then there's 2 levels of profit we would measure. If we build it and then sell everything as individual units, 1 townhouse, 2 townhouse, 3 townhouse, 1 triplex to individual investors, we would make a profit. And the profits, with great variability, because there are lots of variables involved in development, somewhere on the low end of 500,000 all the way up to 750 to 800,000 of profit, right? And there's another way to profit from these type of developments. Because you're building and developing into essentially multifamily properties. In the beginning, I mentioned about 9 units. So remember, we have duplex, 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 triplex. That's 9 units total, but they're divided into single detached structures. So the valuations go up. And that makes it much easier to refinance these properties once they're complete and keep them as multifamily and keep it for long-term cash flow. You could buy a 9-plex off the open market, or you can build it yourself and take all that sweat equity you gain into equity when you close, right? And refinance and you usually pay yourself back most of the money you spent, if not all of it, which would be the goal, which would be a complete bird type project, right? So in doing that, from our numbers, we were probably going to recover somewhere between 80 to 90% of the costs of the input in. That's all the land and all the construction. We'd likely be left with a little bit of money in the deal, but given the magnitude of the deal and the amount of income we produce, to leave a couple $100,000 in a deal like this with 9 rentable units with all that income, it made a lot of sense. And we're talking incomes. What are we at here? A gross income of over 210,000 projected from the property managers and appraisers we had take a look at the property. So, and we won't even talk about cash flows because that can vary too based on rates. But, to control that type of gross income in a project like this for somewhere between 100 and 200,000 total input for us made a lot of sense.
And Paul, how much does that triplex already on the property behind you rent for at the moment?
So yeah, that's a great point. I missed that. So it is in, it's not in tip-top shape. We knew that going in. So what we did when we closed was we did some minor renovations to make life better for tenants who were going to come in, and we rented it. So this development process is not quick. And we're not in a rush because it is rented and it's maintaining itself nicely. So it's rented for just about $4,100 plus hydro. Which is maintaining the carrying cost of the property, and we're able to go through the development process without rush and without feeling like we're strapped for cash and we're racing against time here. We can go through it, do it slow, do it right, as you can see from the site plan, and then when we're ready to develop, we'll deliver notices to the tenants and go through the demolition process and so on and so forth. So 5 things to look for if you're new to development. If you can get a property that makes sense and it's fronting on 2 streets, that's a big advantage, because if the lot is deep, it gives you access to the rear part of the lot from another legal street. Technically, if you have a deep lot without access, there's very limited things you can do. But if it's deep and not so wide, but you're on you have access from a second street, you get to access that part very easily. Number 2, I think this goes without saying, but why I'm mentioning it is because it's getting more and more important now that our market is changing here in Southern Ontario. Is any property you're getting, whether it's multifamily or a triplex or even a student rental, if it has extra width, if it has extra depth, that's a big value add. And if you're buying it for property value and nobody notices that the land has value, that's a big win for you in the future. So if you're new to the development game or you're new to this infill property game, you're gonna wanna align yourself with a realtor who understands this and can show you properties and show you the value that you're missing. And then once you're into the property, you're gonna need different services. You may or may not need property managers anymore and home inspectors. You're gonna need planners and engineers and floor plan designers and a different set of kind of a power team in your real estate. And a good realtor will be able to connect you with that. All right, these type of infill properties are actually fantastic for joint ventures. because there's a little bit more meat on the bone in these type of infill properties in terms of their profits. It's fantastic for two people to come in and share the workload and also share the profits. And even if someone's more experienced, partnering with someone who's less experienced, you don't feel like anyone's taking advantage of anyone because everyone's making a healthy profit. And when I got started, I partnered with someone who was much more experienced than me. You know, I took the little, the tutoring or the apprenticeship kind of path, and it paid dividends. And last but not least, you want to find properties with good fruit trees on them. Akun.